Okay, we're going to open the City of Chelsea Traffic and Parking Commission meeting. Okay, approval of the minutes from the March 1st, 2022 meeting. Okay, anybody second?
A second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay. Communication of November 17th, 2021, from Mary Fester requesting a discussion on speeding vehicles and traffic concerns at the intersection of Jefferson and Washington Ave.
Since fielding the request, we conferred with our transportation consulting engineer and developed a traffic calming plan for this area to enhance pedestrian safety. So we distributed a copy of the plan to the commission, and right now we're proposing painted curb extensions at the corner of Washington Avenue and Jefferson Avenue. That painted curb extension is to tighten the turning radius for vehicles turning from Washington Ave onto Jefferson Ave for the purpose of slowing vehicles so they don't speed as they're maneuvering that turn. Secondly, we're proposing to narrow the lane widths on Jefferson Ave and install pavement markings to forewarn drivers as to the upcoming crosswalk and stop sign. That combination of signage and pavement markings would alert drivers to slow as they're descending down Jefferson towards the crosswalk. Lastly, we're proposing to restripe the crosswalk with a higher visible thermoplastic material that would be conspicuous and forewarn drivers that it's an area for pedestrian crossing. And we'll also add painted curb extensions on Washington Avenue to provide a pedestrian refuge for pedestrians crossing Washington Avenue at that corner. So combined, these improvements would improve visibility at this corner while slowing vehicular speeds and enhance pedestrian safety. So with that said, this is a draft plan, so we appreciate any comments or recommendations the commission might have.
Okay, anyone want to make a motion?
And I just have one thing. I mean, are these going to be hard curbs, or are these going to be like the sloping that we'll be able to drive over?
These will just be pavement markings, so it's just striping.
Just striping?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm sorry, so I want to correct that. So it's just striping the area that is delineated in the bolder red on Washington Avenue.
Yeah.
There would be flexible white bollards around the perimeter of that space. So if a vehicle were to, hit those bollards, they're designed to flip over automatically, and they're small. They're about an inch and a half in caliber.
All right.
So is the fire department okay with that?
We have to confer with the operations. You said it's just a rough draft anyways,
Yep.
right? Yeah, so I'd want to take it back to the station to
Okay.
confer with the chief and the other deputy.
Okay, so I'd make a motion to table this pending confirmation from the fire department.
Okay, anybody second?
A second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, communication January 13th, 2022, from Ronnie Gobin of 30 Summit Avenue, requesting a discussion on traffic issues around the Soldiers' Home on Summit Avenue.
Excellent. So the resident that submitted this request wasn't able to attend this evening's meeting. Becca from DPW and I did meet with him on 2 occasions to review the issues noted in the request and to peruse a proposed traffic calming plan for the neighborhood. So we have devised a traffic calming plan consisting of 2 elevated speed humps placed on Warren Avenue that would be approximately 3 inches in height, combined with pavement markings to slow speeding vehicles in the neighborhood. On Summit Ave, as indicated in the plans that are before the commission, we're proposing a combination of pavement markings and signage to channel traffic that's approaching the intersection of Webster Ave and to slow speeding vehicles. Further up Spencer Ave towards the Soldiers' Home, we're proposing a program comprised of pavement markings, including a painted center median, narrowed lane widths, signage, as well as flashing radar sign that will be placed at a location on Summit Ave to slow vehicles. So all in all, we've heard some feedback from the neighborhood, so we are going to make a couple of minor tweaks to these plans, but the plans presented to you are more or less in their final form. So our goal upon approval would be to implement these plans this summer with funding that's proposed in the FY23 capital improvement program. So the earliest anything would realistically be constructed would be August or September of this summer.
Is the fire department okay with that, or you wanna look it over too?
I'd like to look this one over also, if that's all right. Is the only raised section on this just the median island? The other stuff is also just striping in the road?
So the median striping as well. The only raised elements are going to be the two speed humps on Warren Avenue, and those are about 3 inches in height. The median can be either a traditional median or it could be a painted median. In the short term, our plan would be to do a painted median, which is more cost effective.
Yeah.
Eventually, when the Soldiers Home site is redeveloped, we would look to install a more permanent feature.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'd like to just take this back to speak with the chief and the operations deputy.
Great. I'd make a motion to table this pending receipt of comments from the fire department.
Okay, anybody second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, so handicap sign application February 1st for Mary Welch at 88 Carroll Street. We don't need a vote. Unfortunately, she is no longer with us. Number 6, public hearing regarding review and approval of the construction management plan related to the demolition and ground-up construction project for the Innes apartment redevelopment. Just make sure you sign in before you, okay.
Hello. I am Mary Davis. I'm the project director for JJC JMC Chelsea LLC, which is the development partnership of Joseph J. Corcoran Company and John M. Corcoran Company. And we are the developers of the Innes Apartments redevelopment, which, as a reminder, is the project where we're raising the 96 existing public housing units and relocating those residents and constructing 330 units in its place. I'm joined here today with Matt Therian and Mike Hartnett from Plumhouse Construction and Brian Zamolka from Niche Engineering. And this is a second hearing for us on this project from the March 1st hearing that we attended. And so we've recently resubmitted based on the comments that we heard here of 3 major concerns. First was the accessible crosswalk from on the Watts side of the project site that would connect Highland Street and be able to go down Watts and cross Watts before the project site for pedestrian traffic. There was a concern of the driving visibility coming down Willow at the corner of Willow and Central, so we pulled back the gates there, made them a single door gate, and eliminated the scrim to alleviate the visibility concern. And then we also elaborated on the delivery schedules along Watts during the course of construction, which Matt will elaborate on and show you more clearly in this traffic mitigation plan. So I'll give it over to Matt.
Thank you. Yeah, you can go to that one. Okay, just to give kind of a summary of the project, this project's going to be constructed in 3 phases for a total duration of 35 months, beginning in August of 22 and completing in June of 25. Phase 1, Building C, will be constructed between the months of 1 and 15 for a total of 14.8 months. Phase 2, Building B, will be constructed between months 2 and 24 for a total of 22.5 months. Phase 3, Building A, will be constructed between months 4 and 35 for a total of 33 months. At the beginning of construction, we intend to install a combination of site fencing, traffic barriers around the perimeter of the site, which will encompass 36 resident parking spaces along the Watt Street site frontage, 29 resident parking spaces along the Central Ave site frontage, and 7 resident parking spaces along the Willow Street site frontage. We will reestablish 15 new resident parking spaces along the northern side of Watt Street. 18 of the 36 resident parking spaces along Watt Street and 14 of the 29 along Central Ave will be restricted between month 1 and 24, or August of 22 to June of 24. The remaining 18 of the 36 resident parking spaces along Watt Street and 15 of the 29 along Central Ave will be restricted between month 1 and 35, or August 22 to June of 25. As construction evolves, the Plumhouse team will reevaluate the need to restrict resident parking spaces and consider opening spaces ahead of schedule depending on the work remaining in each phase of the project. Last time we kind of had a discussion on quantity of truck deliveries, so I've kind of broken it down between different stages of each phase of construction. So during abatement and demolition stages, we plan on having an average of 8 dump trailer trucks a day. During site work and foundation stages, we will see an average of 40 to 50 dump trucks and concrete mixing trucks a day. On average, there's going to be 2 concrete pours per week for the duration of the foundations. Precast concrete erection will generate an average of 8 to 10 flatbed trucks a day. During structural steel erection, we'll see an average of 5 flatbed trucks a day for delivery of steel members. During the wood frame erection, we'll generate an average of 6 flatbed trucks per week for the delivery of all wood wall panels, trusses, and loose lumber materials. During our interior fit-out and exterior facade work, we're going to be generating an average of 5 trucks per day for the delivery of rough and finished materials. These trucks will consist of small flatbeds or box trucks to deliver the materials, while lulls and boom trucks will be used to load off and load materials into the building. During specific stages of phase 1 and 2, we're going to be requiring some deliveries to take place within Willow Street, but all other delivery trucks will be staged and loaded within the site fence parameters, and at no time trucks will be allowed to stage outside of the project site and disrupt the vehicle traffic along neighboring streets. Next page. Yep. So phase 1 of Building C, the first stage of construction is the abatement and demolition of the 2 existing buildings on site. Abatement and demolition activities will proceed from north to south from month 1 to 3 for a total duration of 3 months. Truck traffic for work associated with the existing buildings will utilize Central Ave for entering the project site through gate C1. Truck traffic will proceed north on site and exit through gate C2 and travel south down Willow Street and east onto Central Ave. For the site work and foundations for Building C, the work will proceed from the north to the south on the site from months 4 to 8 for a total of 4.2 months. Truck traffic will primarily utilize Central Ave for both entering and exiting the project site through gate C1. The structure of kind of go without. Yeah, you guys have the printout, so we're on the structure erection for Building C. The structure of Building C consists of 6 stories of precast concrete and will be erected in 4 phases from north to south. from month 8 to 10 for a total of 2.5 months. Each phase of the precast erection will be roughly 2.5 weeks for a total duration of 2.5 months. The crane will be located within the building footprint for the erection of phases 1.1 through 1.3 and pick precast materials from Willow Street. For the erection of phase 1.4, the crane will be relocated across Willow Street and positioned in a portion of the building B footprint and continue to pick from Willow Street. Tractor trailer trucks will travel east down Central Ave and enter the staging area through gate A1. When needed for erection, they will exit through gate B1, pull forward onto Central Ave, and back into the crane picking area along Willow Street. Once trucks have been picked, they will exit south on Willow Street and east on Central Ave. It's assumed that there will be an average of 8 to 10 trucks a day during the erection phase. The portion of Willow Street from the intersection of Watt Street and Central Ave will be closed to traffic during construction hours only, with the use of temporary traffic barrier signage and police details. You can go to the next one. The interior fit-out and exterior facade work will take place between months 10 and 15 for a total duration of 5.2 months. Interior rough work will begin on the ground level and continue up to level 6, while interior finish work will begin on level 6 and continue down to the ground level. Exterior facade work will begin on the southern facade and work clockwise around the building. Truck traffic for material deliveries will be utilizing both Gate C1 along Willow Street and Gate C2 along Watt Street. Phase 2, which is Building B, will be constructed between months 2 and 24 for a total duration of 22.5 months. Beginning with abatement and demolition, they'll proceed east to west from months 2 to 5 for a total duration of 3.5 months. Truck traffic for work associated with the existing buildings will travel north up Willow Street, enter through Gate B2, and proceed southwest on the site around the inside of the existing buildings. Trucks will be staged and loaded within the site fence parameters and exit through Gate B3 and head east on Central Ave. Site work and foundations will proceed from west to east on site, beginning with Zone B1 from months 5 to 10 for a total of 4.5 months. Truck traffic for work associated with Zones B1 and B2 will primarily utilize Central Ave for both entering and exiting the project site through gates A1 and B1. When activities transition to the northern portion of Zone B2, truck traffic will utilize Willow Street and enter and exit through gates B2 or B1. Structural steel erection. This is going to be a one-story podium of structural steel, and this will proceed from west to east on the site, beginning with Zone A1 from months 10 to 11 for a total of 1.2 months. A boom truck crane will be used for the steel erection. Truck traffic for all material deliveries will utilize Central Ave for both entering and exiting the project site through gates A1 and B1. For the erection of Zone B1, the crane will be located between buildings A and B, perpendicular with Central Ave. The crane will then be relocated within the courtyard of Building B, perpendicular with Watt Street for the erection of Block B. 5 stories of wood frame construction will proceed from west to east on the site, beginning with Block A from months 11 to 15 for a total of 4.2 months. Truck traffic for all Block A material deliveries will utilize Central Ave for both entering and exiting the project site through gates A1 and B1. All Block B material deliveries will utilize Willow Street for both entering and exiting the project site through gate B2. For all Block A deliveries, trucks will not be allowed to stage outside of the project site and disrupt the vehicle traffic along Central Ave. For Block B deliveries, trucks will back down Willow Street and stage within the street while materials are offloaded from within the site through gate B2. Police details will be used to direct traffic around delivery activities to keep Willow Street open. It's assumed that there will be an average of 6 trucks per week for the delivery of wood wall panels and trusses. On average, these deliveries take between 1 and 2 hours to offload materials on site. The crane will only be stationed on site and within the parameters of the site fence when it is required for erection purposes. It'll arrive at the beginning of each workday and leave at the end of the same workday. For Block A erection, the crane will be located between buildings A and B, perpendicular with Central Ave. The crane will be relocated within the courtyard of Building B, perpendicular with Watt Street for erection of Block B. For levels 2 through 5, the crane will only be used to set floor trusses, and this will occur on a bi-weekly basis for 2.3 months for each block. For level 6 in the roof trusses, the crane will be on site daily to set both wall panels and trusses for 3 weeks for each block. Interior fit-out and exterior facade work will proceed from west to east on the site, beginning with Cube 1 from months 13 to 24 for a total duration of 11 months. Truck traffic for material deliveries associated with Cubes 1 and 2 will primarily utilize Central Ave for both entering and exiting the project site through gates B1 and B3 from months 13 to 21. Truck traffic for material deliveries associated with Cubes 3 and 4 will primarily utilize Willow Street for both entering and exiting the project site through gate B2 from months 16 to 24. Phase 3, Building A, will be constructed between months 4 and 35 for a total duration of 33 months. Beginning with abatement and demolition, that work will proceed east to west on site from months 4 to 10 for a total duration of 6 months. Truck traffic associated with the existing buildings south of the site will only utilize Central Ave for both entering and exiting the project site. When activities transition to the existing building located at the northwestern corner of the site, truck traffic will utilize Watt Street. This work will take place within months 7 and 10. Trucks will travel east down Watt Street, enter through gate A3, and exit through gate A2, and travel south on Willow Street and east on Central Ave. Site work and foundations will proceed from east to west on the site, beginning with Zone A1 from month 8 to 14 for a total duration of 5.7 months. Truck traffic for work associated with Zones A1 and A2 will utilize Central Ave for both entering and exiting the project site through gates A1 and B1. When activities transition to the northern portion of Zone A2 and A3, truck traffic will utilize Watt Street, and this work will take place within months 12 and 13 for a total duration of 4 weeks. Trucks will travel east down Watts, enter through gate A3, and exit through gate A2, and travel south on Willow Street and east on Central Ave. 1 and 2 stories of structural steel erection will proceed from east to west on the site, beginning with Zone A1 from months 13 to 15 for a total duration of 2 months. Each zone will take roughly 5 weeks to erect. Truck traffic for all material deliveries will utilize Central Ave for both entering and exiting the project site through gates A1 and B1. For the erection of zones A1 through A3, the crane will be placed at various locations parallel with Central Ave and Watt Street, depending on pick capabilities. The crane will be required to move within the Building A courtyard or parallel with Watt Street to assist with the erections of zones A2 and A3. It will travel east down Watt Street, enter through gate A3, and exit through gate A2. 5 stories of wood frame erection will proceed from east to west on the site, beginning with Block C between months 14 and 21 for a total duration of 7 months. Each block will roughly take 2.5 to 3.5 months to construct. Truck traffic for all material deliveries will utilize Central Ave for both entering and exiting the project site through gates A1 and B1. The crane will only be stationed on site within the parameters of the site fence when it is required for erection purposes. The crane will be placed at various locations parallel with Central Ave and Watt Street, depending on pick capabilities. When the crane is required to move within the Building A courtyard or parallel with Watt Street to assist with the erection of blocks D through F, it will travel east down Watt Street and enter through gate A3 and exit using gate A2. You can go to the next one. The interior and fit out and exterior facade work will proceed from east to west on the site, beginning with Cube 5 from months 19 to 35 for a total duration of 16.7 months. Truck traffic for material deliveries associated with Cubes 5 and 7 will primarily utilize Central Ave for both entering and exiting the project site through gates A1 and B1 from months 19 to 31. Truck traffic for material deliveries associated with Cubes 7 and 9 will primarily utilize Watt Street for both entering and exiting the project site through gates A3 and A2 from months 22 to 35. And that's the end of my presentation.
Great, thank you for the detailed presentation. We talked about this a bit at the last commission meeting, but would you be able to explain further the detour routes and traffic circulation implications that the closure of Willow Street will have for the general neighborhood?
Yes, so, we spoke briefly about this, on how there are concerns with traffic being directed towards Bellingham if we are closing down Willow Street. And so we are open to suggestions of signage that we can place or whatever, traffic mitigation we can implement for that particular concern. As there is, if you're closing Willow between Central and Watts, there's still only, you can go out left onto Cottage, I believe, to go towards Eastern Ave. But if you wanted to take a right, the only way to take a right if you're coming down Willow is to go down Bellingham, to go left onto, left onto Highland. So we're open to whatever signage, you guys might suggest. I know that you guys were thinking about how we could best route local traffic as well as traffic from the site as well.
Okay, I do want to get on the record that 2 residents did email, and they couldn't be here today. It's Michael Wozniak and Donna Rapici, and they are against the project. But I just wanted that on record. My issue is, how many parking spaces are you going to, did you say 18 to 35?
So,
That's kind of a, that's a lot of people we're going to displace, so.
So on Watts, there's a net loss of 21 spaces, and then on Central, there is a loss of 29. But it should be noted that there's 96 households here today that are being relocated. So during the time of construction, those who lived at those 96 households or were visiting, family members or friends at those households and taking up spaces along Central or Watts, will be going to wherever they live for that time period. So that will alleviate some of the current congestion in the parking.
And you want to bring out, during this whole construction, you want to bring out fencing and cover the sidewalk? Is that like, so you're going to eliminate the sidewalk on one side? Was that, if I understood
We're
that correctly?
replacing all the sidewalks on the site frontage.
Afterward though, right? You're putting what I'm saying is you're going to eliminate the sidewalk in front with fencing while you're doing the construction? Was that?
That's correct.
Okay. Is there enough room on the street for the fire department to get by if you know what I mean? If
There should be. I do want to note importantly that during the first 12 to 14 months as this project's underway, the city will be undertaking a utility and roadway reconstruction project on Central Ave, Watts Street, and Willow Street, installing new drainage, upgrading water mains, rehabilitating sewer mains, and ultimately reconstructing the streetscape and the intersection of Willow and Central. And so we've been coordinating carefully with the folks at Chelsea Housing Authority and their contractors. But that's another dimension that we do have to consider as we're reviewing these plans. But there should be sufficient width on the roadway cross-section to accommodate trucks and vehicles with the closure of the sidewalk bounding the Innes site. I do want to also note, though, is when we're reconstructing the utilities, our plan is to maintain bi-directional traffic as best as possible. There will likely be instances where only a single lane of traffic is permissible, so police details on site will exercise judgment. We'll request that it's alternating traffic, where one aisle of traffic waits and the other opposite direction traverses the roadway. But there may be occasions where the road's closed further by police details on site. And I think just a corollary question is, I recognize that if it's viable to return some of the on-street spaces ahead of schedule, you'll do so. But are there any potential modifications to this plan to preserve additional spaces during the full duration of the project? Like, even if it's squeezing out an extra 5 spaces, that's still very meaningful for the neighborhood.
There could be, we would just have to look at it in more detail.
Okay, we would appreciate if you could look at it in more detail. It's a neighborhood that's extremely dense, constrained, and there isn't a lot of on-street parking. I think one comment that has arisen from the last meeting from DPW and from the Housing and Community Development Department pertains to the detour route and routing vehicles down towards Cottage Street and Bellingham Street. So, we can work with you to develop a signage scheme to direct vehicles towards those 2 streets, as well as down Highland, diverting as many vehicles down Highland, since it's a signalized intersection, would be safer. It's not plausible for all vehicles, but for the ones that are coming up Bellingham, there might be an opportunity there. Additionally, we would defer to the police department around the necessary detail coverage on those detours. Some of them might be self-enforcing, but some of them will warrant police detailed coverage.
And you'll have to get in touch with Captain Dunn at the station and speak with him.
Yes, I have his contact information.
How far out onto Watt Street is the fence gonna go?
What was that?
How far out out onto Watt Street is the fence gonna go? Is it just to the sidewalk, or are you going out past that to where cars were originally parked?
To the parking spaces.
So you wanna take those spaces away and put cars on the other side of the street?
That's correct.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna work for us. We need 18 feet to open up our aerial. You're condensing this to, I believe it was 11.7. So you're saying for the duration of this project, we won't be able to use our aerial on Watt Street at all, the entire duration? I can't see us being okay with that. I wouldn't be able to live with it if something happened, on Watt Street that we couldn't do it, so.
Sorry, could you repeat how many feet you need on
We
Watt
need
Street?
18 feet
18 feet?
to get the outriggers out on our ladder trucks.
Okay.
Without that, we can't set up our ladder truck.
So would it be possible to move the temporary fencing to the back of sidewalk?
I definitely think that's possible and something we can look at. I think the reason that it was out where it is so that trucks could come into the first gate, and then there could be unloading safely within the confines of the site for materials that are delivered, and then exit out through the second gate, so there was no obstruction to the traffic flow along Watts when there's deliveries being unloaded. So that was the thought behind why.
Well, I don't see why not, because I've seen other companies, they put the fence out, and then at the end of the day, it goes back. You know what I mean? They just, so that may be
If that's
a solution.
Yeah, it's not
okay with
driven
that.
fence,
Yeah.
so it is movable fence.
Right, but I understand if you guys are gonna move it at the end of every day, then that might be something that could work. We're not gonna get out in an emergency and have to move a fence.
Right.
And you're basically taking a street with parking on one side and turning it into a street with parking on both sides. Because you're moving the fence out to where the cars were, and you're putting cars on the other side of the street. So, you're narrowing that street tremendously, so. That's just my comments for that one. As for Central, I think Central will be okay where it is. We won't have any issues there. I think Watts will be our main issue.
I mean, I think it's definitely helpful having your dimension that you guys require and
All
look
right.
into how we can do that.
And I do just want to add, there was one more email, I'm sorry, Manilio Mendez from Watt Street, who's against the project too.
I'd just like to echo the concerns on Watt Street. I don't know if these are like literal lines, but it does look like really only the crane is into the street. So I feel like you could move it to the sidewalk and just maybe take up the one spot for the crane. But again, are these literal lines for the truck movements? Because it doesn't really show that it goes over the curbing line as much as the crane and the trailer.
So these are not literal lines, correct? But on the niche engineering plans, those are
Correct.
literal lines.
Yeah, I mean, dimensionally, it would be plausible to station trucks, especially if they're the smaller flatbed trucks that you were referencing, along the frontage or the setback of the property, as opposed to on the sidewalk. And we understand that, there may be times like with the crane where there may be some deviation from that. But I agree with DPW that seems like a reasonable modification that can be made to address the fire department's concerns.
Is also, back to the Willow Street closure, is that at all, I know these are large trucks, but is there any option to make it open one way, or because of the width of these trucks and the precast structures, it's really got to be shut down?
During the Building C structure erection with the precast, we'd like to keep that closed for safety purposes because we're taking the crane that's in the building footprint and picking from the truck, so we don't want any traffic going down while we're swinging that day.
And those were, like you said, 1 to 2 hours for offloading per truck, so.
No, not for the precast. For
Oh.
Building C, that will be from 7 a.m. to 3:30 in the afternoon. We'll have to have it closed. But when we're delivering wall panels and trusses, which is 1 to 2 hours, we'll be able to have traffic flowing with police details, and we'll open up the street right after that.
Okay.
And then in terms of evening hours, would Willow Street, or at least this segment of Willow Street, be accessible during evening hours, and would there be any deviations from that?
Yes, at the end of the workday, we'll open it right back up.
Would there be any instance, like during the precast structure erection, that it wouldn't be open at night?
No.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Any other comments, questions?
So it does sound as if some additional revisions are warranted to account for the fire department's concerns. So we would encourage you to, review the setting of that temporary fence line, shift it back as much as possible. Of course, we're happy to meet with you between now and the next meeting, if that's helpful. And then additionally, for folks at home, I do want to state that there will be a community meeting held for the city's utility and roadway reconstruction project. We're aiming to hold that meeting in early May. That's another opportunity to converse over traffic management issues around the two projects, and we'll be notifying all abutters ahead of that meeting, as well as posting notice in the city's website, social media, and the Chelsea Record. So I'd make a motion to table this to the next meeting while these revisions on Watt Street are completed.
Okay, anybody second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, communication of March 2nd from Councilor Vega Maldonado and Councilor Vido requesting the commission look into the placement of speed tables to be located near 32 Franklin Avenue.
So this was a request that we had fielded from the councilors as well as constituents in the neighborhood due to vehicles operating wrong way up the road as well as speeding. So I would propose that we table this while DPW and Housing and Community Development explore traffic calming measures, including the potential placement of a speed table in coordination with the fire department.
Second that.
Second, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, communication of March 2nd from Councilor Vega Maldonado requesting the commission to reposition the preciously approved handicap sign at 40 Carmel Street due to the sign being on an electric pole and not visible. I don't think we need to take a vote on that. That would just be a DPW.
Correct, yeah.
Okay, handicap sign application, March 16th, from Jose Miranda at 3 Clinton Street.
I would make a motion to approve this request due to the complete application.
Wait a second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, communication of March 18th from Mohammed Lamalam of Al Huda Society requesting parking relief from April 2nd through May 2nd for Ramadan.
Are there any members of the public that would like to speak? No. All right. So this is a request that the city fields annually from Al Huda Society for parking relief during the holy month of Ramadan. Historically, the city has approved this request. The Al Huda Society have been excellent partners of the city, and we value that partnership. This, from our perspective, is a reasonable request that would not have an adverse impact on the surrounding neighborhood. So our department would recommend that this request is approved.
Anybody second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, communication March 22nd from Jacqueline Bevere Maloney of the ELC requesting the closure of Shirtliff Street from Central Avenue to Congress Ave on Wednesday, June 22nd from 7:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. for their annual Spirit Day.
So this is a request for the temporary closure for this one-day event. We are reviewing this presently, and before issuing a recommendation, I'd recommend that we confer with the school department, administration, and finance, just to coordinate around some of the parking matters, since this is an area that's also used for teacher parking, pickup, and drop-off. So I would make a motion to table this to the next meeting.
Okay, anybody second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, communication March 24th from Councilor Recupero and Councilor Lopez requesting the commission look into accepting all driver's license regardless of origin for vehicles registered in the city of Chelsea to obtain residential stickers and refer to parking clerk for explanation. I know that they're going to be sending a letter to the counselor explaining, but also, from my knowledge, they don't have to have a driver's license. They can provide other forms of ID, electric bill or utility bill, passport, pretty much, just a valid ID. So it doesn't quite have to be a driver's license. Is that correct?
Utility bill, like gas, electric, and we try to work with customers, residents on other items that they can supply to us. So usually bank statement, credit cards, something from Mass Health, but I have to write it in a communication to the council, so if we could table it.
Great. I'd make a motion to table the request.
Okay, second? Anybody second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, communication March 24th from Councilor Recupero requesting the commission look into putting no parking from here to corner sign on the left-hand corner of Essex and Highland Street and to add a mirror. Is that just another DPW they can handle that?
Yeah, this is a request that could be handled by DPW without any action from the commission.
Okay. Okay, next one. Communication of March 28th from Santa Rodriguez Delgado requesting a no parking on this side sign at 25 Cottage Street.
All right, so we received this request for the no parking sign opposite the site on, or not near a telephone pole. I would suggest that we reach out to the resident that submitted this request just to clarify what location they're referencing and what the issue is. It does seem like there are folks that are parking in front of the house reportedly and not being ticketed. This is occurring during some daytime hours as well as evening hours. So we did just want to investigate whether this could be solved with enforcement or if it warranted action from the Traffic and Parking Commission. So I would make a motion to table this request pending investigation.
Anybody second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Communication March 31st from Peter Roach of NEI General Contracting requesting the approval of the construction management plan for 25 Sixth Street.
I'm also representing our client, the neighborhood developers. Steve LaFerriere apologizes. He was scheduled to be here to represent them, but had a last-minute unavoidable conflict. So I'm here to present our construction management plan. I have some additional 11 by 17 copies I can offer to put a zip drive to put it on screen, if that would be easier. Oh, I'm sorry, as you're taking that away. Would that be easier for folks to view, or I'm happy to simply walk you through our plans? I am very happy to report that our project is much simpler in nature and scale than the Corcoran Plumhouse project. It's a single building, single phase, and involves really just one street in the city of Chelsea. I'll plug the zip drive in here so folks can see that if that's better for you. This plan was also developed by Brian from Niche Engineering, so he's doing double duty tonight. Can you hear me okay if I'm not at the microphone?
Yeah, I don't think the folks on cable can hear you though, so if you wouldn't mind, you can carry the microphone if that's easier.
Bring it a little bit closer at least.
Great.
So the project involves demolition of the existing single-story building at 25 Sixth Street and replacement with a new construction, 5-story apartment of 62 units of affordable housing. 56 of those will be rentals, 6 will be townhomes. So it's a combined ownership and rental project. We're anticipating right now a May start date. There's some balls in the air with the MBTA and permitting, but we're hopeful that we can resolve all of that in advance and begin the demolition in May. The overall schedule for the project will be approximately 18 months, so we'll be finishing before the end of 2023. This is phase 1, the demolition for the project. So I mentioned the project's simpler in nature and scale from what was previously presented, but there's a second reason for that too. The existing conditions surrounding the site really only leave one way for this building to be constructed. We have abutters, residential abutters to the east side here, and the MBTA Silver Line to the north. And the building is designed essentially as a lot line project, so the building will essentially fill the entire project site. So it leaves us really no option other than to come to you today and request the use of a portion of 6th Street to execute the construction of the project. So our primary proposal here today is to, as we've indicated here on this plan, to utilize between 7 and 11 parking spaces. We've noted in the plan 11 parking spaces. I actually just counted on my way over here 7 parking spaces. It depends, I think, how large the cars are. So somewhere between 7 and 11 parking spaces on 6th Street. We would take that parking lane and protect it with fillable, movable jersey barriers with chain link fence and scrim on them. And our proposal, as it stands right now, would be for the full 18-month duration of the project. We believe that we'll need that lane to facilitate the demolition of the building, as well as for all of the deliveries for the project throughout the course of the project. We will evaluate towards the end of the project if we have the ability to pull those barriers in closer to the sidewalk when we have smaller trucks, smaller deliveries of that nature. But as it stands right now, we would like to request this for the full 18-month duration with the caveat that we'll evaluate and do our best to shorten that if possible at the end of the project. As I said before, this is really a single phase as it relates to the city of Chelsea. The one point in our construction management plan where it varies from phase to phase is on the MBTA Silver Line side of things, where we're actually, during the demolition portion of the phase, we're gonna bump the sidewalk out into the MBTA Silver Line way so that pedestrians have free and clear access to their station here. And as soon as the demolition is complete on the building, we'll return that Silver Line way back to the Silver Line, and we'll establish our fence line on the existing sidewalk. This represents the phase during the in-ground construction, ground improvements, concrete, site work. When we begin to go vertical, we'll protect that sidewalk on the MBTA Silver Line with an overhead barrier with lights. I should mention, we submitted this plan with our building permit application in December. We've received some preliminary feedback from various departments within the city of Chelsea, and we received feedback from the MBTA. All of the comments to date have been incorporated, primarily from the MBTA accessibility department, but also from the city of Chelsea, primarily in regards to the truck route for the project. We had proposed utilizing Beacon Street off Route 1. We recognize that that is signed, no trucks or trailer traffic. So we're actually now proposing to use Webster Street. We'll go up one exit and then we'll circle back around and come down Everett to Arlington to the site to access the site. And trucks leaving the site will they'll come back on 5th Street and enter onto Route 1 almost directly adjacent to the project site. So we hope that from the prior feedback that we've received from both the MBTA and the city, we've been able to address all the comments that we've received to date, just leaving hopefully the request to take the parking lane. I will note from the prior comments from the prior construction project, we are only proposing to take the existing parking lane, so the full width of 6th Street will be maintained. So I hope that would address any concerns that you have for the ladder equipment.
Yep.
Any questions?
Nothing from our end. You know, we appreciate the fact that T&D and your team submitted this before the meeting and incorporated a lot of the questions and feedback that we conveyed, particularly around the truck route and maintaining adequate widths on 6th Street for the fire apparatus. Just a reminder to please include an ADA compliant pedestrian pathway around the site, including temporary compliant ramps, crossings, and the like. But other than that, there are no other questions or comments from our department. I defer to the rest of the members of the commission.
We do have the ADA compliance addressed. I glanced over it. We're providing compliant ramps here with a crosswalk, and when necessary on the MBTA side, a compliant ramp here, as well as at the end of the walkway here. I should note, we're also incorporating signage for sidewalk closures. And there's actually very useful crosswalks here already to be utilized. We have to introduce one additional crosswalk here. And we've coordinated with the MBTA to move a street sign for their bus route on 6th Street. We're gonna move it up about a half a block so that those buses will not stop and choke in front of the construction project.
Great, thank you.
There is, you call it out on your plans, handicap space you're taking away from the parking. Is there any plans for that handicap space? Have you found out who that resident is or how to accommodate them at all?
We have not, unfortunately. Sorry? Oh, we have? Oh. My apologies. I'm newer to the project than Brian is.
Brian's Mocha Niche Engineering. So what we're doing is, and maybe I could speak from here. At the very end of the project, right near the intersection, there's a handicap space that will be removed. Now, understanding that kind of serves 6th Street and to the north, we decided that it's probably best to provide 2 handicap spaces, one at the eastern end of the project and one at the very corner to the north. So we took that into consideration, handicap accessibility, obviously through the route, and to make sure that adequate parking spaces are provided.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, so, this may conflict with your timeline. It is customary for the commission to move any matter affecting on-street parking to a public hearing because it affords us an opportunity to alert abutters and solicit public comment. So I would propose that we move this to the May meeting and hold a public hearing before making a decision.
Anybody second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Won't conflict with our timing at all.
All righty, excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, meeting adjourned.
Thank you.